What's hidden under the ice in Alaska? Moose fight. Unalakleet school teacher Brad Webster and a friend made the unusual discovery of two bull moose partially frozen under the ice, locked at the antlers. One most common theory is that both moose were fighting over a female when one was knocked unconscious or suffered a broken neck, taking the other one down with it. It might be the end of moose rutting season, and the animals were probably fighting over a female moose. Because the moose looked to be in good shape, Webster and a few of his friends decided to return a few days later to remove them from the ice. He says freeing both carcasses in their entirety was too big of a task, therefore the men focused on removing the heads. Eventually, Webster says he hopes to have the skulls bleached, keeping the antlers locked together, before placing the moose on display back at the Bible camp. Blue Babe. In 1979, gold miners found an almost 50,000-year-old mummified Alaska steppe bison. The animal had been preserved in the interior permafrost since the Ice Age and was then handed to the museum. Part of the bison was exposed as water from a hydraulic mining hose melted the frozen muck in which it was embedded. The bison got its name from the mineral vivianite that formed on the skin when the body reacted with the minerals in the silt during its long burial. The nickname is also a tongue-in-cheek reference to Paul Bunyan's giant blue ox. According to the finding, the animal might have passed away during the fall or winter, when it was relatively cold. The carcass probably cooled rapidly and soon froze, which made it difficult for scavengers to eat. Blue Babe is the only known display in the world of a Pleistocene bison recovered from permafrost. The man who lived alone in the mountains of Alaska for almost 30 years. While most nature-loving tourists pack their things again after a few weeks and fly back home, Richard Prinicky decided to stay. In the late 1960s, man chose to leave civilization and spend the rest of his life in clean rivers, impressive mountains, and fairy tale forests of Alaska. Richard, who was already 52 years old at the time, built a cabin near the shore of Twin Lakes. Prinicky hunted, fished, raised and gathered his own food, and also had supplies flown in occasionally. He documented his activities in journals and on film and also recorded valuable meteorological and natural data. The journals and film were later used by others to write books and produce documentaries about his time in the wilderness. It was not until 1999 that Richard finally returned to civilization due to his advanced age. Ancient burial ground. The researchers found 11,500-year-old remains buried on the banks of the Tanana River. It is said to be the hearth of what appears to be a summer home for the early Barinians, the earliest known habitation for these first American settlers. Alaska researchers have found the cremated remains of a 3-year-old child whose parents were among the first immigrants to North America. The findings provide important new support for the hypothesis that the first Americans spent thousands of years living in the far north before finally sweeping into north. Reportedly, the first Americans migrated into the vast Bering Land Bridge, a region also known as Beringia, sometimes 30,000 years ago. About 15,000 years ago, rising seas submerged the land bridge and a warming trend began to melt the glaciers covering North America. Gigantic supervolcano. The Aleutian Islands are a chain of volcanic islands located on the south coast of Alaska, and they are home to 44 volcanoes. As per the new study, a wide crater, created when the supervolcano exploded, connects at least 4 existing volcanoes. It's so big that if the supervolcano erupted during the last few thousand years, it could have disrupted civilizations around the world. Volcanoes, including Herbert, Carlisle, Cleveland, Tana, Uliaga, and Cogumil, may be a formation of a vent along the edge of a much larger volcano. Although this study hasn't been confirmed yet, the study features strong evidence. Piecing the evidence together has been challenging, thanks to the extremely remote location, a large underwater setting and newer volcanic deposits which obscure older ones. With the help of the equipment, the researchers found that the Aleutian volcano's peaks form a ring shape. Microbial life. Just outside the northernmost city of Alaska, underneath an expanse of white tundra, researchers have found a rich community of microbes bathing in ancient seawater. These marine bacteria have been trapped under the permafrost for up to 50,000 years and are living in a salty and cold environment. This could explain to us how life might persist in other extreme places, like maybe Mars or Saturn's icy moon, Titan. Named cryopegs, these microbes were first discovered several decades ago. However, scientists still aren't sure exactly how these structures form, or even how many of them exist.